and welcome to County Cricket Natters. It's end of a section of the season, and I'm here with Sam Delling, Dan Whiting, and our very, very special guest, Fynn Hudson Prentice. Did I say that right?
Yeah, just about.
It's been a really mixed round with a few draws, turgid draws, and some heavy defeats. But it has been awesome as ever. So we are here to take you through the rounds. And first of all, we're going to go to Division 2, which Dan will come to you.
Yeah, before I go on though, we've had a bit of correspondence come in actually from Mr. J. Simpson of Brighton in East Sussex, who wants to know if Fynn has ever beaten him at golf.
Blimey. There you go.
Have you?
I don't think so. So, not that I remember, but yeah, I don't want to talk about it.
Fair enough. Fair enough. We've got another question coming up for you soon, Fynn, as well, but we'll wait for that one. We'll hold that one back.
Brilliant.
Right, let's start off at Lords, where Fynn was in the dirt for quite a while by the sound of it. Middlesex against Sussex, two sides at the top of the table. Sussex batted first, 554 for 9. Hundreds there for Cheteshwar Pujara and John Simpson on his return back to Middlesex, 167. Middlesex then responded with 613 for 9. Sam Robson 136, Ryan Higgins 106, and then everyone went home. Thank God for that. Fynn, a bit of a tough one to play in, wasn't it?
Yeah, was a very tough fixture. It was just one of those weeks, I think. Sometimes you can get those. We actually had that exactly this time last year against Glamorgan, where we did 212 overs in the dirt just before the T20 started. So I think we're used to it after that, just before the T20s, 196. There wasn't that much in it for the bowlers, put it that way, as whatever it was, 18 wickets in 4 days suggests. But yeah, it's always a pleasure to play at the home of cricket, so I can't complain too much. I mean, the food there is outstanding, and obviously getting out and on the hallowed turf is always a great experience. I haven't played there in a 4-day game for about 4 years now, so yeah, it was nice to finally get a game out there again.
And Mr. J. Simpson from Brighton and East Sussex also wants to know what Mr. J. Simpson from Brighton and East Sussex is captaincy styles like.
Oh, blimey. Yeah, I mean, he's a very good leader. He's a very strong leader. He knows what he wants. He's obviously, for us in the changing room, has been a great player. He's come in. He's shown his authority sort of with his attitude and stuff straight away. He's sort of came in his leadership skills in terms of like bringing the boys together off the field. His gym work ethic, his fitness, his general work ethic in terms of coming and hitting extra balls, catching extra balls. He's great to have behind the stumps. You can tell the amount of hours he puts into his craft, and when he gets out in the middle, how good he is behind the stumps is incredible. So I'll give him a nice rap there. I don't want to say anything bad about him. He's my captain. He's picking me at the moment, so I'm happy.
Fair enough. Before I come on to Middlesex, Annie, just want to carry on with Fynn. I mean, what a wonderful start to the season for Sussex.
Yeah, it's been great. Obviously, the first sort of 4 games, we won 2 of them. We lost one at Glamorgan. We won a couple of games, and we're sort of, I think, the first 5 games before this week. We won 2, but we could have won 4. We were very close in the first couple of those. We had Northamptonshire 150 for 9 in their second innings, and then the rain came. And I think they only led by about 70 at that stage. And then there was another close one. Blimey, they've all come so thick and fast, I can't really remember. But there was another close game. There was another close one which we could have won. We got hammered by Glamorgan, so that was a nice reality check. And then had a great game against Yorkshire last week. Probably one of the best games, to be honest, I've ever played in terms of atmosphere and how close it got, and just obviously the amount of proper players on show, like proper international players that were playing in the game, and for it to be that sort of down to the wire was incredible. So can't really complain with the start. Obviously, top of the table. Could have been even better, but we're obviously very happy at the moment.
Yeah, that Yorkshire game was an absolute cracker. He took,
Oh, yeah.
I think, the last 4 wickets for Zip to win by about 20 odd runs. Sam.
I was just going to ask Finn, like, we've talked for a couple of years now. I mean, what we've going back 4 or 5 years, Sussex have this really young side. I think there was a game up at Sebra where like Archie Lennon at 17 or 18 was the granddad of the team. And I realised that it's not done yet and you're only halfway. But the sense is from the outside that with people like you coming home and now John Simpson coming in, a lot of those youngsters are now still only 21, 22, but have played 40, 50 games. And it feels like it's starting to come together for Sussex. Is that the feeling internally?
Obviously been a long process. I think since Farbs has come in, I think the mindset and the sort of mentality has changed quite a lot. I think we've gone from a team sort of giving ourselves excuses of age and inexperience has sort of disappeared, and now it's the expectancies about professionalism and winning games and being in games, but finishing them off and stuff. That's definitely been a massive change in the last sort of 18 months that I've been massively aware of. Just the use of language in the dressing room, people obviously having experienced those defeats and obviously now gaining experience in the close games has really sort of, I think the hunger's grown, and I think everyone sort of understands what it takes to get over the line now, which is obviously great to see. I think there's still a long way to go in terms of maybe some match awareness, even from myself. You can always keep learning. I mean, when I came back to the club 3-4 years ago, whatever it was, I was the oldest man in the team by 3 years, and I was 25. So there's still a long way to go in that aspect. But I think, you know, the more games of cricket we're stringing together, and obviously playing against people like Joe Root and Shan Masood and names of that quality week in, week out, is obviously massive for us as a group to see how they sort of go about their business. And obviously having the people in our dressing room that we have had this season with Pujara, Robinson and Seals almost playing every game, you get to really learn, and it's great to sort of be at backward point when you're watching Robinson bowling at Root or whatever it is. Like, it's crazy that you're sort of on the same pitch. So I think there's a long way for us to go still, but obviously at this moment in time, it's all sunshine and roses. But I mean, there's still 7 games to go. There's plenty of things that can happen, and there's no letting up from us, I don't think.
No. Well, Finn, it sounds like you're glad that Pujara and Simo are in the side now to get the average age range up and not make you the old man of the side. So,
yeah, thanks,
Annie,
Simo.
Annie, Sam Robson, he's always there or thereabouts, isn't he, in the run scorers every year. His consistency is unbelievable.
Yeah, and I just want to big him and Higgins up because they are both in my fantasy team and they're both doing very, very well. Yeah. And Robson came back in for this match and obviously did very well again. And even Fernandez, who had to drop down the order, did well too. So it's a strong-looking team. In fact, you know, like listening to Finn talking about all these class players that he's been playing against, it's great to see in the second division this sort of caliber of player. I'm really, really pleased to see. And that also goes on to what I want to say about brilliant crowds at Middlesex. There was people were allowed on the pitch, which is really nice to see. So it was a really good vibe there, I think, despite the turgid game that you had a little bit.
Yeah. Finn, you have to realise, right, amongst us three, is that Annie will continue to talk about her fantasy team and revolve anything back to that. I will come out with the worst dad jokes ever, and Sam will turn. I'm surprised Sam hasn't turned Middlesex Sussex back to Somerset yet. So, you know, that's what happens with the three of us here, all right? So, yeah. Anyway, let's move up to the good shoemaking folk at Northampton. And there's draws and there's draws, and this was quite a good draw. Yorkshire batted first, 362. Adam Lyth, 109. Northants then, 301. Luke Proctor, 116. Apparently he's captaining very well up there. Yorkshire then set quite a good declaration. Shan Massoud contributing 131 to their 264. And then Northants gave it a proper go. Vasconcelos, he got to 50 and 61 balls. It was on, but then he just ran out of partners. Sam, Vasconcelos, he's a dangerous customer, isn't he?
Yeah, I thought he was going to do it. I was looking on from afar, and when he's going well, he scores runs really quickly. But he showed both sides of his game, and he ended up having to block it a little bit, and ended up 183 balls, I think he faced. He's sort of the star of that Northamptonshire team, and they've got a few of them who are supremely talented. You just want them to really kick on. When he was captain, wasn't he, at the start of last year? When Rossington left, it all happened quite quickly, and so they went to Vasconcelos, and I think maybe he struggled a little bit with. Oh well, I can't really speak for him, but they moved on to Luke Proctor to free him up at the top of the order, and I just think he's wonderful to watch. I believe he qualifies for England at some point this year, and sadly for Northamptonshire, I think he's also out of contract this year, and I think there'll be some Division 1 side sniffing around if Northamptonshire can't get promoted. So yeah, he's quality player. They've got him and Emilio Gay, who I think are real quality down there. I think they would get into a lot of sides in Division 1.
Yeah, Emilio Gay's class. Some of his driving straight back down the ground is a joy to watch. Fynn, Yorkshire, start of the season, you probably thought they're going to be your big rivals for the title, and they might still be, because Division 2 is tighter than Sam Dalling at the bar, but they just can't really get a win at the moment. They're playing
it's
well,
interesting,
but
isn't it?
yeah,
They're obviously a really strong team. You go through top to toe of that side, and they're very, very strong. Look, all it takes is one win. That's the thing with situations like that. They've been very close on numerous occasions so far this year. All it takes is one victory, and they're definitely going to be right back up there. I mean, they're second bottom, but I think they're only about 40 points off top, which is remarkable halfway through a season. And yeah, they're a quality outfit, so we fully expect, obviously, them to get themselves on the board soon and then challenge for that promotion spot. Obviously, there's a lot of strong teams in Division 2 at the moment, it seems. So every game sort of is nip and tuck. So Leicestershire obviously doing really well as well. So yeah, it's going to be tight again, like it was last year.
Yeah, they've been the surprise package, haven't they? So yeah, interesting. Anyway, let's move down to Bristol. Derbyshire, 526. There was a double 100 there for Matthew Lamb. It sounds like in that innings there was a scorecard of when Sam gets Annie into his posh health club. David Lloyd Guest.
Oh, God. That's not the worst ever.
There's the dad joke.
That's really bad. Even by Dan standards, that's bad.
Bo Webster, 6 for 100. What a good signing he's been for Gloucestershire. He's been absolutely fantastic. Gloucestershire responded with 530, hundreds there for James Bracey and Graham Van Buren. He's in the runs, and a 5 for Zach Chappell. He spent a bit of time on loan at Bristol. The game then just petered out into a draw. 166 for 4. It was one of those Bristol wickets where not a lot happens. Sam, Matt Lamb, what do you know about him?
Well, I know he got a double 100, and I know he went to Derbyshire at the start of last year, and was it start of last season? I think he had a back injury and didn't play much. But it was a bit of a coup, really, for Derbyshire, because he just won the championship with Warwickshire, and he hadn't played every game, but he played 8 or 9 of the Red Bull games and scored a couple of hundreds, I think, in the year they won the title. So it just shows the pulling power. I know, Anna, you're a big fan of Mickey Arthur, and it just shows the pulling power of him. If he must have liked I've heard him say he liked the sound of the Mickey Arthur project, and it's just a brilliant signing for Derbyshire. That just what they needed, and I know they're struggling, but yeah, can't argue with a double 100.
James Bracey, good to see him back in the runs. Yeah, well, I mean, he's that's his second 100 of the summer. It's great to see him back in sort of form, because he's come out with quite an honest interview about his England experience, which is well worth a read. And yeah, it's he's been through the mill quite a bit. Fynn, Bo Webster, top run scorer in the Sheffield Shield. Do you know much about him?
I've never actually played against him or anything, no. But obviously watching him, I've only ever seen him in the Big Bash, so I can't really comment too much about his Red Bull. Obviously, Sheffield Shield leading run scorer is pretty good accolade to have behind you. But he's obviously taken 6 for there as well. So he's obviously enjoying the English Duke in his hand as well.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
he's
They must have
quite a good
They must have
signing.
some contact book there because they've got both of the leading run scorers from the Sheffield Shield, Bancroft, and I know Webster's been signed primarily for T20. It just so happens that because of the way it runs, there's a few Champo games in between. But yeah, not many teams can pick up both the leading run scorers, and Webster happens to take a lot of wickets as well.
And scores quite fast as well when he scores, so he's a good little signing for them, definitely.
He's not little, Annie. He's 6'8". He's massive, massive man.
There's a great photo of him with Graham Van Buren, who's 5'6", and it looks like a dads v lads game, going on. So yeah, listen, if you thought my pun there about David Lloyd Guest was bad, in the Northamptonshire v Yorkshire game, we had Broad bowling to Bean. Justin Broad bowling to Finley Bean.
Bad, Dan, actually.
That's all right. I don't mind that.
We put them all out there over the weekend as well. Well, Yorkshire a few years ago, you had balance and leaning. Gloucestershire, you had doors and windows. And Western Province a few years ago had Alan Curry and Clive Rice there. So anyway, on that note, I'm going to get off the microphone pretty quickly before I make a complete burk out myself. Leicestershire v Glamorgan. Colin Ingram dropped quite controversially here. Glamorgan 387. There was 80 for Scott Carlson, 5 for Scott Curry as well. Leicestershire responding with 343 for 9, 103 there for Hanscom, 5 for Van der Hoogten, and Glamorgan then got a few before the game ran out of time. Annie, Ingram getting dropped for Hamza. What do you make of that?
Yeah, I mean, I guess they could do it because they've got Labuschagne in the team, and they thought it would be good to have the bowling option. But yeah, I mean, Ingram, he's quite a person to drop, isn't he? Really?
Yeah, I mean, he's the leading run scorer in Division 2. He's got 752 at 94 with 4 tons and 250s. I mean, I'd be a bit miffed personally if that was me, but, what can you do?
It just shows that they've got quite a lot of strength in the team at the moment, and obviously some really quite strong overseas signings. Yeah,
I think it's overseas strength, and I think they've possibly overcooked it down in South Wales, maybe. Fynn, Timmy Van der Hoogten, he's a handful, isn't he? He's a handful say, but a handful with a ball in his hand.
Damn, these jokes need to stop.
Yeah, thank you.
He's obviously a serious bowler. He's done it for years for them now, and obviously he's playing for the Netherlands as well these days. He's not going to the World Cup, is he, this year? So
no.
No, because he's available for them in the T20s and stuff. Like, yeah, he's a great bowler. It was a big miss for them, I think, at the start of the season. He had quite a bad injury, I think, by all accounts. He missed obviously the first 5-6 weeks of the season or so. So yeah, he's been a big loss. But obviously, seeing him come back and taking wickets again is a great sign for them, especially for the rest of the season coming.
Yeah, I think Nisa going as well has been a big miss for Glamorgan. Nisa going down to Hampshire. Sam, Scott Curry, fifer.
Yeah, it's good to see. He's one of the brothers, aren't they? There's 2 of them. They came through Hampshire, and it's amazing. They had, I think Brad's the other one, and so Brad went off to Millfield. Scott stayed at State School, so they went down completely different routes. One bowls left arm quick, one bowls right arm quick. So they couldn't be more opposite as brothers in that sense. But they've both done really well. It's great to see Scott getting a chance up at Leicestershire, and I think there was a couple of years ago, Hampshire have made this real concerted effort to try and bring through some quick bowlers because they didn't have an awful lot come in. They've had to bring them in from afar. You've got people like a Bass and Abbott and Barker. And I think with John Turner and the Brad Wheel have come through, the Currys. Do you remember James Tomlinson, left arm, really quick? I think he's been, Finn's nodding his head. I think he's been involved in the academy down there. Finn, did you play against him? He was sharp, wasn't he?
Yeah, I remember in the second team back when I was like 15, 16 coming through, I used to play against him all the time. Obviously, neighbouring counties, yeah. Almost like off the wrong foot sort of action.
Yeah, really distinctive. I think needs a lot of credit for bringing those young bowlers through, and Curry's taking wickets for Leicestershire, which is lovely.
Yeah. Well, Division 2 table looks like this. Fynn Hudson Prentice is Sussex. They are topping the table still at 109 points. Middlesex on their tails with 101. Leicestershire 92. Gloucestershire 90. Northants 83. Glamorgan 82. Yorkshire second from bottom on 77. And Derbyshire propping the rest up with 70 points. But a little run when we come back in a month's time or so, a little run from any of those sides could propel them to the top of the table.
Yep. Thank you for rounding up that division, Dan, and we'll move over to Sam to do us Division 1.
I can, and there's a couple of draws and 3 wins, but the 3 wins were absolutely mammoth. Like there weren't much tight cricket going on. I'm going to start with the one. Where am I going to start? I'll start the one you were at, Dan, down at what I'll forever call the Rose Bowl. Hampshire winning by an innings and 278 runs. We all thought the Surrey juggernaut was unstoppable, and actually, you glance at the table, and we've got a title race on. Annie, I'll come to you first. Surrey. Big defeat, big shock.
A huge shock, wasn't it? I mean, you just kind of, obviously I was watching and being part of Somerset, but watching the results coming in and just thinking, what's going on? And just real surprise that Hampshire, I mean, they do it at home, but they really did an innings and 278 runs. That was not expected. And to get Toby Albert coming in and batting in his first game and scoring so much after Surrey had all been bowled out was an incredible experience. And Surrey then spun out, weren't they?
Yeah, they were. Annie was asking what's going on, Dan. Well, you were there. Tell us what was going on.
Yeah, well, Toby Albert's a wonderful story. He wasn't in the night before. Your old teammate, Ali Orr, went out with a ricked back the night before, Finn, and Albert came in. And I thought he batted beautifully, left the ball really well. He knows the geography of his off stump. Liam Dawson, for me, was the star of the show. Other people picked up more wickets. Other people scored more runs. But for me, Liam Dawson was absolutely fantastic. He came on at 11:30 on the first day, so that tells you what sort of a wicket it was. He opened the door. He got 3 wickets before lunch. He got Burns, Sibley, and Pope, and then he just sort of pushed the door ajar. And then Kyle Abbott after lunch smashed it open with 5 wickets there. He had 3 for none at one point after lunch, and he was absolutely superb. In the second innings, well, when Hampshire batted, Albert batted really well. Nick Gubbins got 100. Ben Brown, your old teammate, who I'm sure Sam will come on to you in a minute about that, Finn. He got, I think, his record first-class score. And then in the second innings, we thought Surrey might be able to bat because it looked like a turgid wicket. But Felix Organ, he's got the best strike rate at the Utilita Bowl, Shane Warne included. And that is also Surrey's record ever defeat in the county championship. Their previous one was against an England 11 containing W.G. Grace back in about 1881. So, a bad day at the office, but, you're not double champions for nothing. And Surrey will come back fighting.
Can I just say with those stats, there was also their other one was in 1948 against a Don Bradman's touring Australia, which was exactly the same. They lost by an innings and 296 runs as they did with W.G. Grace. So it's quite an interesting stat, that.
Yeah, God, they really hate an innings and 278 run defeat. Sorry, don't they? Not a good margin for them. Credit to Fynn there as well, because I was fully expecting a pun from Dan, based on organs and Sundays and things like that. But I think Fynn scared him out of any more puns, which I think is excellent work from Fynn Hudson Prentice.
No, I'll tell you what it was Sam asked me to do a video for, the preview. And I did one really straight. And he said, Dan, there are no puns in there. What's going on? And I said, mate, I'm just about to interview Gareth Batty, who's got a face like absolute thunder. It wasn't a time for jokes whatsoever.
We'll have to remember to make sure there's someone looking angrily at you, Dan, and then perhaps you wouldn't make so many jokes.
Yeah, well, Fynn, Dan mentioned him, your old mate, Ben Brown, 165, class act, isn't he?
Yeah, proper player. He's also one of those players that sort of hits the ball in really, really odd areas. Sits back right on his stumps and hits very square of the wicket. So when he comes in, you sort of go from that length where you're trying to hit sort of top of the stumps, back of a length, and he comes in and he's pulling that and cutting it away. So it does take a little while to sort of adjust when he comes in. And God, when he gets in, he really goes big. I've seen him score loads of hundreds for Sussex, and obviously it's a shame he's not still doing that down here. But yeah, it's great to see him scoring runs for Hampshire. He's a top guy.
Yeah, great to see him. Great win from Hampshire. A bit further down the table than people expected them to be, but it feels like they're on the way up. Also on the way up, and very close to Surrey, are Essex. They won at Kent by an innings and 96 runs. I mean, we just talked about Ben Brown, wicketkeeper batter. Probably his test chances have gone. Bracey played that test 3 years ago. Not even really in the conversation at the moment, despite scoring all those hundreds. Another one who's probably not that high up the pecking order, Jordan Cox, 207. You got Ollie Robinson up at Durham, Cox, Rue, Banton, Jamie Smith. I mean, who are you going to pick, Annie? Who are you going to pick?
Yeah, it's a good question. It's a hard one, isn't it? The Essex team are looking really, really good with Jordan Cox. So I think I'd probably go along those lines. It's Kent, though, however, have a really bad time at the moment with 5 bowlers injured. It's a really tough time for them. So I think we should feel sorry for them too.
Yeah, we should. And we'll talk about the spinners in a bit. But Fynn, I want to come to you on Shane Snater, right? 9 overs, 4 maidens, 3 for 15 in that second innings. Zach Crawley, who made a massive double 100 against Somerset last week, LBW for 1. There are people in sides that, like Simon Harmer or Jordan Cox, who get all the headlines. But how important are people like Shane Snater, who will go unnoticed, but maybe take 30, 35 wickets, key wickets, score key runs? Those are the kind of players that win you titles or promotions, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's always about how many players you sort of have in your squad, because it's not going to be every day that you sort of rely on the same people. There's obviously 11 people that take the field, so you're hoping that each person's obviously going to do it at some stage. He's a quality performer. I went to Australia with him. I remember 2015. I spent a winter with him in Australia, and at that point, he wasn't with anyone. He wasn't with the county at that point. He just sort of done his Netherlands stuff and was just moving over to the UK to see if he could get a contract. And from there, he's just become a serious bowler. His stats are ridiculous. I think he averages like somewhere around 20 with a ball or something in first class cricket, which is a hell of an effort when you've got him coming in behind Sam Cook and Jamie Porter with the new ball. It's an incredible team backed up by Harmer and Critchley as well. So it's a serious bowling attack, and they're looking very strong in my opinion. I think they'll take Surrey all the way this year.
Yeah, Dan, it's starting to look ominous, isn't it? Harmer in the wickets. He takes his time. As soon as he gets wound up around this time of the season, other teams have to worry, Dan.
Yeah, certainly do. It's interesting at Chelmsford because this time of year they go from real green tops to absolute Bunsons, don't they? And depends on what side of the square you play at Chelmsford, you can get 2 very, very different types of wickets. I mean, they're going along nicely. That Somerset game could be costly though for Essex. It really could be. Where they lost there the other week, and that could really, be the spanner in their works. Last game of the season though. Essex hosting Surrey at Chelmsford. We'll be
Well,
covering it on County Cricket Natters. What a finale!
that could be
Oh,
a
I
real
cannot.
upbringer, couldn't it? Well, it could, of course, be
cannot.
totally pointless because Somerset could have easily won by then.
Well,
Well, yeah,
yes, they might have.
yeah, right. Annie, have you been
They-
drinking?
They might have easily won by then, or Durham might have
Uh-huh.
easily won by then, because the Durham train feels like it has well and truly left the station. Another innings win in Division 1. This time they beat Somerset by an innings and 6 runs. It was an absolutely wonderful performance from Durham. Dan, Dave Bedingham, right? 4th consecutive 100, first Durham player to do so. As overseas signings go, we talked about Harmer a lot, right? He's played 50 red ball games for Durham. He's made 1500s. He's gone into the test side for South Africa. He's got to go away in the summer. South Africa play a couple of tests. Oh, when are they? Oh, in August. So you won't even miss any championship cricket. He is the ideal overseas, Dan.
Yeah, he is. He's been absolutely fantastic. What a great signing. I think there's one game this season that he hasn't scored 100, and that was the first game of the season, which was more or less washed out. So it's an amazing record going on there. As for South Africa, I mean, I'd build their side around him. He's still not that old, is he? How old is he, Bedingham?
Oh, 26, 27, I think.
Yeah, he's not
Maybe
that
a
old
bit
at all.
older than now.
Youngster.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, he's a mere pup. So, you know, if I was South Africa, I'd build that side around him, and I think he's a great player. I really do. So, yeah, credit to Durham.
Well, Scott Borthwick, I asked him about him, and he said, look, I played a fair bit of cricket, and I played with a lot of players, people like Sangakkara at Surrey, he name checked, and he said, I think he might be the best I've seen, you know. He made 100 on it. It made it look a different pitch to everyone else, and we'll come on to Somerset's batting in a little bit. But Ben Stokes, right, 8 wickets in the game. It's the little things he does that people don't notice. He was out there every morning, even it was only 2 mornings actually. Even when they weren't bowling, he was out there bowling for 45 minutes. Then he'd go straight into the nets. On the pitch, he's constantly talking to the bowlers, talking to the umpires. So, like, tactically, when they want the ball changed, they give it to Ben Stokes and send him across to the umpires, because I think there's just a bit of extra gravitas there. And at the end of the game, he came down 15, 20 minutes, did all the autographs, all the selfies, checked no one else needed anything, no one was missing. Even there was a lad holding an England shirt behind him for about 10 minutes. And eventually someone said, oh, there's a lad there who wants your autograph. It was Jack Leach who had added England shirt for Ben Stokes to sign, which I thought was lovely. But then he bowled 10 overs off the reel in that second dig. Aside from the fact the ECB probably won't be too pleased with that, how difficult is that to do? How much of a test on the body is a 10 over spell?
We're talking to a bloke who bowls 77 mile an hour, and I find it ridiculously tough. So when you add into the fact that he's just come back from knee surgery, he bowls mid-80s and doesn't stop charging in. Manning at Lords in 2017 against I think it was West Indies, and I think he bowled like a 13 over spell or something. It was just ridiculous. And the 13th over when he was running in, it just looked like the first. It's just a different breed, and obviously he's got that aura about him as well. And when things are going right and things are just going ticking along, he's just brilliant.
Sam, I've got a question for you.
You may know I've got all that.
Oh, we've lost Fynn.
I think we've got him just a little bit. He's just a bit.
Yeah, we got that, Fynn. Don't worry.
Yeah,
we got that, Fynn. Yeah.
Sam, I know you're doing Division 1, but I've got a question for you, and it's a very important one. You're doing the Durham stream for this game. Were you on a match rate or were you on a day rate?
I was actually only booked for 2 days because I promised my fiance a couple of days off. So actually, it worked out very well for me.
It was your fault.
I didn't miss out.
Your fault.
I didn't miss out on any cricket. Annie, let's talk a little bit about Somerset, they had this. It feels like I think they got norovirus in the squad, so there were people going off and on all the way through the game. Shane Berger was spotted. The batting coach was out in his whites, but there was one positive to take from it, right, Jake Ball?
Yeah, I mean, the thing is that it is. You can make excuses, and you know that's just the way it is. That everybody gets ill, and that sort of thing. But they did have Josh Davey out last week with a sickness bug, and this time it appears that Banton and Gregory both got this one, this sickness bug, and also Pretorius, who was batting well and then got hit on the head. He's had a concussion sub in Jake Ball, and I was thinking, oh gosh, that's he's not been playing that well, but actually Jake Ball came out and he got the middle order. Well, he got more than the middle order. He got right at the top. He got Beddingham for a start and Ollie Robinson as well. So he did really, really well. I just, I think apart from Banton, Somerset batters didn't come to the match really, and it was a shame for Abel coming back. I think he got a peach for Ball in the first innings, but just a shame with him opening. Lammonby was in as early as he has been of late, so it was a difficult couple of days for Somerset, but amazing bowling from Durham. You can't take that away. However sick their team were, but it was a joy to watch Stokes bowling, and he wasn't the only one, So Rain bowled really well, and Lee Siddle did as well, and he didn't do that well for Somerset. Anyway, I'll stop rambling.
Fynn, Surrey or Spank, they've had their pants pulled down going away to Hampshire. Somerset, who were in second before this game, have gone away to Durham. They've also been whooped within 2 days. How crucial is home advantage?
It's a good question. I think it obviously is crucial if you understand your conditions, and obviously you know as a side you can gain edges over teams by obviously producing certain wickets or producing wickets that favour your attack or your batters. I think, to be honest, I think that was a lot more prevalent in previous championship campaigns. I think that's sort of gone out of the game a little bit because of the fact that the ECB want as many good surfaces as possible. That was definitely an initiative sort of in the last 3 or 4 years. I remember that, like the pitch ratings and the uncontested tosses and stuff went out of the game, and all that stuff, sort of making sure that batting tracks were sort of being made, because there was a period in time where 3-day games were almost common. So yeah, I think there's definitely more of an emphasis, obviously now with the Kookaburra ball as well being implemented, on trying to create good hard 4-day cricket. But I definitely think it has some sort of imprint. I mean, obviously for us here, I don't mean to keep going back to Sussex, but we've started to sort of understand our surface and stuff here, which has obviously then given us a benefit the last sort of, I think we've got 2 wins here now at home. So yeah, there's definitely an edge, but maybe not quite as much as you'd think.
There speaks a man who's run up the hill at Hove a few times with seagulls whistling around his head.
Don't worry about that. I'm a firm down the hill bowler now. I've told Danny Lamb. I've told him, you look really good up the hill, mate. Keep charging in.
The beauty of seniority. Are those Danny Lamb older than you?
He's older than me, yeah. But I just, he looked really good. Gloucester up the hill, he took 2 wickets in a spell and bowled beautifully. So I was like, that's you for the rest of the year, mate. Well done.
Yeah. You keep saying it, Fynn. The more you say it, you'll eventually believe it at some point. You'll eventually believe it. Well, speaking of understanding surfaces and pitches, Worcestershire, brilliant to see them back at New Road. Not so great to see the first day rained out. They played Nottinghamshire, eventually got underway, and there were some touching tributes to Josh Baker, the first game back there since he tragically passed away. So it was a bit trite still to then come back to cricket, having talked about that. Life is much more important. But Annie, We all love New Road. We love
Oh,
going there.
so
But
wonderful.
is,
It's such
is
a
it time to say goodbye?
well, it's climate question, isn't it? I don't know. I mean, it's been wetter the last 2 years than it has been for a long time, or ever. I think it's been a really, really tricky start to their season. But that ground and the cathedral and where it's situated, it would be so heartbreaking to leave it. But it's not doing their cricket any favours by the look of it, with the all being out very cheaply. What was it, 80 they were all out? So yeah, I don't know. I'd be really sad to leave New Road, but I don't have to play there. How about you, Fynn? You've played there.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I've been fortunate enough to sort of play at both Kidderminster and New Road in first class games. I mean, it's obviously tough for them. It's a great place to play. It's one of the favourite away trips for the guys as well.
Yeah.
When you get in and amongst the ground there and the river, it's really nice there. It's just obviously a shame that the river is so close to the ground. It seems obviously waterlog every year and makes it tougher and tougher. I don't envy the ground staff who work there, that's for sure. Be a tough job. And obviously it's tough for them to keep having to move fixtures to Kidderminster. I'm sure it's not great for their funding and stuff as well. But yeah, it's a great place to play. I know most of the guys who play there obviously absolutely love it. It's a great ground. It's picturesque, probably one of the most picturesque in the country, and it's a great away trip going into the city there. So be a
Good
shame to
cake as
lose
well
it.
together. They do good cake.
Unfortunately, the cakes aren't sent to us. We
Oh,
we
what?
don't get that, which is a real shame. But
Well, Annie, you mentioned 80 all out
Yeah.
for them. Luke Fletcher, 9 overs, 5 maidens, 3 for 18. He passed 450 first class wickets in the process. Have you faced him much, Fynn?
yeah, he's got me out a few times. Yeah, I'm definitely in that 450.
What is it about him as a bowler? Because an outsider, you might think, okay, like big lad, but doesn't generate masses and masses of pace, but is clearly highly skillful.
Yeah, very skillful. I think there's a lot about him. Like he gets movement. He's tall, and he's just got that presence about him. Sort of as a bowler, I think that goes a long way in terms of the way he goes about his craft and stuff, and makes you think certain things are happening when maybe they're not. He's just very skillful with what he says to you, and also obviously what he delivers.
Interesting, skillful with what he says to you.
Yeah.
He just, yeah, I mean, he tells you sort of, he's very analytical in what he says in terms of technical things or, yeah, I mean, I won't say much else.
No, a little bit of coaching from Luke Fletcher, so he's got a career after bowling.
Yeah, that's it.
As a batting coach, by the sounds of it. Someone who's spent a lot of hours with batting coaches, Dan, and it's paying off. Haseeb Hameed, 100, backing up a double 100 earlier in the summer. Maybe the way England play now isn't so suited to him, but he's got that Nottinghamshire captaincy. He's a lovely player, isn't he?
Yeah, when he's on form, he's gorgeous to watch. But yeah, I don't think he's in with the England reckoning. I just don't think he plays the way that Brendan McCullum wants the guys to play, and I think that's why you see Zach Crawley and Ben Duckett and people like that get a proper run in the side. A few years ago, they'd have probably been out with some of the low scores, and someone like Hameed would have been next cab off the rank. But now there's consistency in selection, but also, I think you have to bat a certain way to get in that England top order.
Yeah, you really do. Right, one final game. Let's go up to Old Trafford, where there was more rain. It looked like it was going to be quite exciting at the back end, and actually Warwickshire set quite a generous declaration. So presumably there was an agreement that Lancashire would give it a blooming good go if they were going to set them 220 in kind of 40 odd overs. I think it was. Lancashire were in trouble. The rain came. But Annie, someone caught your eye in that game.
Well, I hadn't actually seen him, so it was quite funny when I saw Bethel. Yeah, he's got just really silly hair. I'm glad you haven't, Finn, but he has really got very silly hair. But you know, he bowled well. He got 4 for 20 in 16 overs, which was really good. Left arm spin, including getting Jennings, who the second time Jennings tried to reverse sweep, but great to get him in both innings. And yeah, he did well for a man with strange hair.
Well, I think that's a compliment, isn't it?
It's terrible, Jacob Bethel's hair. It's almost as bad as your teammate Ollie Carter, Finn. I mean, what is going on there?
Oh, he must have great hair then if you're comparing him to Ollie Carter.
Oh, you like that, do you?
I mean, I wouldn't rock it myself, but it suits his personality, put it that way.
Fair enough.
I'm a big fan of it. Actually, I don't mind Bethel's either. I'm jealous of anyone who's got hair, because every time I get mine cut, it sneaks further back. I was trying to grab a word with Ben Stokes. I wanted to ask him a question about his hair transplant and whether if he could really recommend his clinic, because I quite fancy one of those operations myself. I think to save my hair. Last person I want to talk about, Alex Davies, who, well, another wicketkeeper batter, who is skipper of Warwickshire. He doesn't keep for them in red ball cricket. Burgess takes the gloves. But Finn, he's another good player. I mean, we keep saying that. There's so many of them on the county circuit, but he's scoring really heavily this year.
Yeah, he is a really good player. It's obviously a big move for him going from Lancs to Warwickshire a couple of years ago, but it seems like it's really paid off for him, and he's really enjoying his time down there. I think he's got the white ball captaincy as well in the T20s. Not sure if he does this year as well, but he definitely had it at points last year, and he did really well for them in the white ball stuff. So he's been a great signing for Warwickshire. Obviously, they've got Burgess as well. He's a great keeper, so they're not shy of a good keeper in the Midlands there. But yeah, he's been a brilliant signing and scores a lot of runs. I remember playing against him at Lancs a few years ago, and he whacked me everywhere. So it's imprinted in the back of my mind.
So nasty memories. Right, well, that's Division 1. Surrey and Essex up at the top, just 2 points in it. Somerset in third, Hampshire and Durham starting to get going. Oddly enough, Warwickshire and Worcestershire are the only sides that haven't yet won a game. Lancashire and Kent have both won, but they are below them. They are the bottom two, so it just shows the value of a draw. And I'm going to leave it there, Annie.
Yeah, absolutely. It certainly does. Anyway, we've now got a break till the end of June, where where County Cricket Championship makes way for T20 Blast. All games will be starting, and I hope you all enjoy the T20 Blast, and we'll be back when the championship returns. And thank you to Finn very much for joining us, and thank you to both of you.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for listening. Thank you. Bye-bye.